Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to, yes, we're back, Daz. It's Rate the
We're
Transfer Rumor
back.
show. Everybody loves this show. The window isn't open till July 1st, but there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, and we've got five possible transfers to rate today. If anyone has never ever seen this show, basically, Daz is going to rate five potential transfers from 1 to 10. He hasn't a clue what names I have on this list or what clubs are linked to. So I always think, and I always say it, but I always think that adds a bit of excitement to the shows. If you knew the players and the clubs linked before, I mean, you could do research and you could kind of,
Yeah.
the on the spot thing adds to it, I think, doesn't it?
Like I'm eating my words over Moses Dyer now with Galway.
Man, Moses Dyer, 9 goals
Oh,
scored in the League of Ireland
God.
Premier Division this season. What a player, to be fair.
Yeah, he's doing
Scored
well.
two at Dalymount, didn't he, in a 2-0 win as well?
He did. He did.
You
We knew
walked,
that was going to happen
you
as soon
walked
as said, nah,
yourself
he
into
won't
that
go
one, though.
out.
To be fair though, Bulls have done very well since, but yeah, we'll get into it anyway. Daz, first up, I'm going to go with Gary O'Neill with a potential of Shamrock Rovers, yeah, midfielder, potential loan move to Cork City. How would you see
Yes.
that one? Would that be a bit of a shock if
Yes.
that was to happen?
But yeah, I wasn't really expecting that one now, but I think it's
Neither was
it's
I.
no secret that Cork need reinforcements and they need players in soon. They really need to shake up their team, I think, from top to bottom. They need to get players in. Gary O'Neill would he'd be a good move, I think. I think he would definitely improve Cork's midfield.
Hmm.
I wasn't really expecting that one. Obviously, we all know the big, huge team the Rovers have, so
Hmm.
it's not stopping them bringing somebody else in as well. But Gary O'Neill's Cork, yeah, wasn't expecting that, but I can't see it happening.
Hmm. He's a
Like,
Kerry man. I don't know if that means anything here, but he's a Kerry man.
no, yeah. I, yeah, I think I put it as a 6 out of 10. I think it'd be a good move for him. He'd probably play every game,
Hmm.
and he'd definitely improve Cork's side. So I'm going to put that as a 6 out of 10. I think that'd be a reasonable move for him.
The only way I'd see it, of course, we mentioned how Shamrock Rovers have a lot of midfielders and mostly fit as well. Jack Byrne, Matt Healy, of
Yeah, they're
course, who's
also
from Cork, actually playing really, really well as well. The likes of Dylan Watts and players like that. And if you want
Graham
that,
Burke on the bench some games.
yeah, obviously he plays higher up the pitch, but Danny Mandrew as well, another one like that. But O'Neill, not really getting as many games, but it would be a big drop, though, wouldn't it, for him to go to a team that's maybe bottom of the league at the moment compared to what he's had and the standards at Shamrock Rovers the last number of years, even if he's not getting in at Rovers. It'd be a big drop, and I wonder,
That's kind of
a
why
major
I
coup
put it
if
as a
Cork got
six
him
out
for
of
me.
ten. That's kind
Yes.
of why I put it as 6 out, because if he's going to move, I would have maybe expected not to really that they need it really, but Shelburne or someone of that caliber maybe
Mm,
might possibly come in for him over say Cork.
mm.
But as I said, if he goes into Cork, in my opinion,
I
no
was just going
disrespect
to
to
say,
Cork,
with the
but
recent stuff with Stephen Bradley and Damien Duff, I'm not
no,
sure
yeah.
Stephen
So yeah,
Bradley
it
would
probably wouldn't
allow him
be.
to
It
go
probably
to
wouldn't be
Shelbourne on
Shelburne. Yeah,
loan. Could
no.
you imagine?
Yeah, but I do think like he'd get into that Cork team straight away and really improve them. I think, and he'd be kind of setting standards like that. He'd bring down from Rovers, and I think he'd be a good body to have in the team coming from a manager like Stephen Bradley, a winning side, a team that's in a really good form with really good players around them. It is a big drop, but I think it'd be a very big coup for Cork if they could get him in.
It would. So Gary O'Neill to Cork City on loan, 6 out of 10 says Daz. Now the next one is a player potentially leaving, and that's Warren Davis from Drogheda United, who has 7 goals this season on his way to possibly Blackpool. Now the thing here is that Warren Davis' contract is up at the end of the season,
Yeah,
but Drogheda are looking for potentially cashing in now, maybe getting 100k from Blackpool now. Now, the other side of this is if he was to go, and even if they got 80k, let's say, they could probably put a few little clauses in there, but he could easily run down his contract, stay at the club, and go at the end of the season. Now, a lot of people say 100k for Warren Davis, that's cheap, but his contract's up at the end of the season. Drogheda have no power here, let's be honest. And they're looking at, and you're looking at the position they're in the table. It's a difficult one for them because they could cash in, but also they're missing. They lose out on him, don't they? If he goes, so
yeah.
it's a bit topsy turvy in that way. But it also depends on the player, doesn't it? Whether what he wants in that regard. So how would you see that one, Warren Davis to Blackpool?
Yeah, I think just in regards to this particular one, there's a lot of moving parts in this transfer, like you said. I think firstly looking at Droghera's position on the table, nobody predicted this at the start, and they've consistently stayed up there and have consistently put in good performances. And if they're not winning games, they're drawing. And if they're losing, they're not losing by much. And
Yeah.
Warren's been a very big part of that team. He's probably one of the first names in their team sheet.
Mm,
He hasn't really put in a bad performance this season. Yeah, he
mm,
fits really well into Drogheda system, and that kind of brings me on to my next point. I do think if Drogheda were to sell Warren Davis, I think they really struggle to replace him with a similar like for like player with the money that they're going to get in. I think they'd struggle to replace him with someone who would hit the ground running and make that position their own. But then again, they're losing out on European spot. It's not really clear if they're going to get any money for where they should have been. So a lot of money that they would have probably thought they'd have, they're not going to have. But do they really want to risk, losing a few players now and possibly throwing away European football for next season? I think, though, if I was in a Drogheda position, I would probably sell him. I think 80 to 100K for someone whose contract's out in a few weeks' time is reasonable. I think they have to, manage their expectations. Like they could start falling on the table a little bit now. Hope they don't, but they could. And if they finish mid-table, it's still a brilliant season for them. But I suppose talking about the transfer, you can't let a player, if you're a club like Drogheda, kind of go walk for free. You have to cash in on it if it's there
because the
and
worry as
try
well,
and
Daz, that his head might be a little bit turned and he mightn't be quite in it, that kind of way. And they've got the
yeah,
likes of Josh Thomas maybe coming
yeah.
back soon, strikers like that. So,
Like I do think if Drogheda were in Europe, my opinion would be slightly different. I'd say he'd
mm,
probably stay for that reason. But now that they're not, I think, like you said, his head's turned. You know, Blackpool, they're starting their season's going to start shortly. It's a chance to play in England. It's a chance to try and get into the EFL, climb up. It's a big opportunity, and it'd be hard for him to turn down. And I actually do see this one quite likely to happen. If he doesn't go to Blackpool, I see him going to either another League of Ireland side for money possibly, or to Scotland or England. So I'm going to say 8 out of 10. I think he's done a lot for Drogheda. I think he's been a really good player for them. He will be missed. He'll be missing the league too, but I think it's going to happen. I'm going to put it as 8 out of 10. And look, if it does happen, best of luck to him. It's great to see players from League of Ireland getting a chance in England or abroad.
right, so Daz says Warren Davis, Blackpool's an 8 out of 10. Next up is a former Ireland under 21 international central defender, and that's Conor Masterson, which is interesting. His deal is up with Gillingham. Although apparently Gillingham want to keep him, he has offers in the UK. But I'm going to link this. He's been linked with a few League of Ireland clubs, but I'm going to go with Shells in this particular one, mainly because of Damien Duff, and I think Shells have been looking at a central defender too. Now again, there's a lot here as well. You don't know, this is age and stuff like that, but is he more likely to stay in the UK? And if Gillian want to keep him, surely, you know what I mean, they'll offer him a decent deal, which that doesn't make sense, by the way. His deal is up, but Gillingham want to keep him. But anyway, that's another thing, isn't it? In a way, it doesn't really make sense to me.
No,
And if he wants a lot more money than Gillingham are willing to pay, then I can't see something like Shells giving him
no.
that money. So that doesn't make sense in that way.
Uh,
But Conor Masterson to Shells, how would you see that one?
Firstly, I think Connor's a reasonably good player. He'd definitely be one of the standout League of Ireland players if he was to come back here. He'd probably, on paper, should be one of the best players in the league in the defensive position.
Yeah,
I think it's no secret that Shelburne do need a centre back. They need someone to come in as strong, as a kind of a leader that can hold the ball up, that can play the ball. They need someone to come in that can do that because there's been a few gaping holes in their defence recently enough.
mm,
He definitely would fix a back four. He'd definitely improve any team in the league, I think. And he's got reasonable enough experience now in England. He's got a lot of games under his belt at a high level. So he's got a lot to bring to the League of Ireland or any club. But I just think I don't think he's going to come back. I think he's going to stay in England. I think he's been in England all of his career. He was obviously in Liverpool in the Champions League with them under bench a good few times, and he fell out into the Championship. Now he's with Gillingham, like you said, played a lot of games with them.
was he at QPR before as well?
He
Actually,
was in
he
QPR,
was
yeah,
at
and
QPR, wasn't he?
he
Yeah,
he played consistently with
yeah,
QPR as well at the
yeah,
time. Like he was a Championship centre back, and he was on the very very late fringes of the Ireland squads. Like he was
yes,
being talked about, just to obviously really stuck in that position. He'd never get a look in for that
yeah,
reason, but. I think he's a good player. I personally think he's too good for Shells, too good for the League of Ireland, so I don't see it happening. I
yeah,
want to put it as a 4 out of 10. I'd certainly say he's been offered contracts, all right,
yeah.
by Rovers, Bows, Shelburne. I'd say where everybody's putting a contract in his face. But he's definitely, I think he's going to stay in England. So I'm going to put it low at 4 out of 10, but he'd be a welcome addition to any team in the league.
Brilliant. So Conor Masterson to Shelburne at 4 out of 10. Now two more to go. This one we're going to the first division, and it's Dylan Mcglade to the leaders, Dundalk FC. Dylan Mcglade was in Australia. I believe he's back in Ireland. So Dundalk, a club that have been linked with him, possibly training with Dundalk. Who knows? I'm not one to speculate. But a player that you probably remember mostly from Bray Wanderers and Cork City, actually. And a player I always felt had a lot of ability, but very inconsistent, and the type of player that had good skill, could score worldly from 30 yards, but very head down. And I don't know, maybe lacked that bit of, you know, intelligence when it came to making decisions, and that maybe you could argue, possibly.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
I
saying that, I'm
think
just throwing that out there.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
Dylan
At,
McGlade
at
to
division
Dundalk.
at Division One level though, with Dundalk,
Mm,
you keep be a brilliant player to come off the bench and kill a game. You're 2-1 up, you're 2-0 up, you're 3-0 up, you're 3-1 up. Because let's
mm,
face it, Dundalk's been running away with that
mm.
league.
But that's
I
another
don't
point I'll just throw in there. Do Dundalk really need to do much? You know what I
know,
mean? In terms of the first
no.
division, are they better off not doing much in this window and saving themselves for probably being in the Premier Division, and obviously looking for better players when they get into the
Yeah,
Premier Division? That's what I'm looking at with
but
Dundalk potentially.
it'd be no harm to bring Mcglade in on a 6 month contract, have another
Mm,
body in the building, someone you know who's good at that level, someone you know can come on and, like you said, if even if it's nil go, go on,
yeah.
on you go, don't track back, just go forward, attack them. I can see him coming in and having that role and just coming up and being champions and then moving on. I could very well see that happening, and I think if you're a Dundalk fan, you take that. You take him in for 6 months, see how he goes. It's someone to come on. Someone in a position, obviously to have Oregon on one side, and they've been doing reasonably well. They don't really need much. I haven't watched too much of them this season in the first division, but obviously you've kept tracking results, and their team sheets have looked fairly consistent.
Mm, mm,
But in terms of depth, like you said, I do agree that they should probably hold off next season. Like, they are running away the league. It's no
mm,
doubt they most likely will be champions. It's no doubt they will be promoted, I think.
mm,
So they don't need to do an awful lot of business, but it probably would be wise to bring in 2 or 3 players, keep it freshen up, keep players on their toes, keep positions kind of being, keep players motivated. Someone's coming in to take a position, you keep you motivated. Like, it'd be no harm to bring in a 6 month contract. I don't see him coming in on a 2 or 3 year deal.
no, Jesus, no.
But what I will say is, he will have offers from other teams, and probably in the first division, who would say, "Look, we want you to come in. Here's a 2 year deal. Here's a 3 year deal." I think the likes of Athlone got new owners recently, could come in for him, stuff like that. So, but I'm going to put it as a 7 out of 10. I think it's reasonably enough to happen. As I said, a short term deal on someone to come on, I think it would add depth to Dundalk. So 7 out of 10. It'd be good to see him back.
Yeah, Dylan McGlade to Dundalk, 7 out of 10. Then the final player is a player that was at Drogheda United a few years ago. He moved on to Blackburn. I think he went on to Stockport after that, certainly on loan, and recently at Ross County. He is now without a club. Is Jimmy or James Brown? He's been linked with a
The
move
right
to
back.
St Patrick's Athletic. Very good right
Oh,
back, very energetic, very
yeah,
creative as well. Very good cross of
yeah.
the ball. He was linked with Pats actually before his move abroad when he was at Drogheda before, so that could be an interesting one. Maybe his offers in England and Scotland again, maybe, but potentially moving back to Inchicore and with Stephen Kenny. What would you say about that one?
Wow, like, firstly, what a player! I remember him in the league. He was really, really good, and I remember thinking to myself, he's one of my favorite
Mm,
defenders at the minute. I thought he was a really standout player, really, really good. It's just a pity maybe he didn't reach the potential that I think he once had. I really thought he'd push on and go a lot further than he did. He still
mm,
could. He's not really old.
mm,
There's loads of time left for him, but um, in terms of Pats with Stephen Kenny, yeah, like, playing for Kenny, a league winner, obviously a League of Ireland legend, an ex international manager, he'd have a lot to learn, and Pats have been quite inconsistent as of late. They haven't been doing as well as I thought they'd do. I really thought they were going to be top of the league, kind of running away with it a little bit. They haven't been at all. I think they could be doing an awful lot better. He definitely improved Pat's team, I think.
mm.
He'd slot
Improve
right
any
into,
team, I think, to be honest
yeah,
with you,
yeah,
in
he
this
would.
league.
He'd slot right into their system,
Yeah.
and with the way Stephen Kenny plays, he'd be given a license to go forward. He'd be
Mm,
chipping in with goals and making assists. I think he would really suit Pats. He'd suit a lot of teams. He could fit into any team, obviously. But I think in terms of coming back to the League of Ireland, maybe not just yet. I think he will try and stay in Scotland or England. So, but Pats have a lot of money. Let's make no joke about it. They have a lot of money. They could put him a contract up to him, and he could say yes to it easily.
Hmm.
I'm going to put it as a 6 out of 10. I certainly think there's something there. I think a number of clubs will be in for him, but I think more clubs in the UK will be in for him and will probably offer him more money. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it comes down to money, and that's something that affects our league a lot. So I'm going to put it as a 6 out of 10. It'd be great to have him back. What a player.
Yeah, brilliant. So Jimmy Brown, the Pats, a 6 out of 10. Daz, thank you very much for coming on. Absolutely brilliant as usual. Guys at home, let us know. Give us a few ratings. What you think about these possible deals. Would you like these players at your particular club? Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Cheers, Daz. Brilliant.
Okay.